I went camping out in Lake Trinity. This was late October in the county of Idaho. My brother and family always loved to go out there. I figured if we did it on a weekend that late into the year, we would be alone. I was looking forward to a nature experience after doing nothing but stay in the city for the past few years. What I was not told was the road out there was a 2-hour crawl through dirt, narrow roads. The final 10 miles of which are practically animal trails on the edge of mountains. It's a very rough trip in a pickup truck. This was red flag number 1 in hindsight. But by the time the roads got that bad, we were so far in, we were already committed. We would do this, and it would be a unique experience for both of us. How I would later regret those words. When we finally made it to the first campground on the smallest lake, we just wanted to get out of the truck. We couldn't take much more of the bone shaking and rock crawling, so we did that. This meant we were in a different spot from where the family had camped further up the lake. Everything with the setup was standard, and we had gotten what we wanted. We were completely alone. Only the fire tower 2 miles back, and over a mountain if anything went wrong. This should have been red flag number 2, but we figured we had enough gear and knowledge if we encountered a bear or a cougar. Another important thing was the rules of that area stated no guns, so we didn't bring one, not even as a last resort. About an hour after setting up camp, I hear the snap of a branch on the other side of the empty campground. We're both talking, however, he doesn't notice. I look back and I see 2 giant antlers. I knew straight away what it was. I rushed him quietly into the truck, and a big bull moose springs into view behind the truck. We didn't even know there were moose out here, and we had not seen any when we camped at the main lake grounds earlier in the year. We were not scared because he ran off immediately, just after we got some good pictures of him by the lake. We just thought it was a rare encounter, and we were in awe at the experience. I knew how crazy and dangerous moose are, but I never bothered to look at the nature of their behaviour. Big mistake not immediately packing everything and getting out when we had enough daylight. We jump out of the truck, making sure that he's long gone, and continue on much needed nature trip, relaxing and taking photos. Almost 3 hours later, I hear that same kind of crackling, but it's approaching our campsite, and it's coming quickly. We're not close enough to the truck, and with how fast it's approaching, I pull my brother into the tent and just stayed perfectly still. I didn't even want to breathe as 5 or more moose with 2 bulls that seemed to be chasing each other around sprinted past our tent. We could only see out of the front flap of the tent, and we determined from the footsteps and the behaviour that they were mating calls. This time, we were not so excited about it. We were just sweating and praying when we got out of the tent that there wouldn't be a lurking moose that hadn't gone with the rest of them. There wasn't, but now there wasn't enough light to pack everything and get out safely. We no longer felt safe, and we were constantly on edge, knowing that any moment we may need to go back to the truck. The plan now was to pack up as soon as morning broke, and we just had to make it until then. When night arrived, we were able to relax and unwind. We were thinking, with it being night and a fire lit up, we were done with any possible moose in the area. We just wanted to eat and smoke our cigars around the campfire. We had our fire going strong. We ate our food and had our cigars ready. However, we needed a bit more firewood, so we made a small trip. It was pitch black in that forest, even with our eyes adjusted. The second we got away from the camp to the area we'd been gathering from, we were both on edge. I got that sinking feeling, like something was watching us. So we hurried up, scurried back to the camp, and breathed a sigh of relief. The fire was still lit, and nothing was out there. Everything was fine. Then we heard the bone-chilling crunch of one of the thick branches behind us. We dropped everything in a hurry. Every single instinct in my body activated right then. I turned to my brother and said one word: car. My brother later said, the way that word left your mouth took me out of freeze mode. It was the most direct, fear-induced command I'd ever received. And both to our horror, the truck had auto-locked. The 1 or 2 seconds it took me to fumble the keys out of my tight pockets and hit that button felt like hell. We jumped into the truck, and I scrambled over him as he slammed the door and flinged the headlights on. Right there, right in front of the fire, where we had just been standing, there was a bull, staring at the truck. The strange thing was, he didn't look like a normal moose. The fur was all patchy, and it looked discoloured, like it was rotting on the outside, but he was still easily taller than our lifted truck. I watched him slowly walk out of the headlights and back into the darkness while staring at us. I turned the lights off immediately so our eyes could adjust, and we could see around the truck at least. We were freaking out and filled with adrenaline, but sat so quietly. Neither him nor I can agree if these next occurrences were just shared paranoia or imagination. For almost an hour, at 10 o'clock in the evening, we heard heavy footsteps slowly moving in big circles around the truck. Eventually we stopped hearing anything, and the forest was completely silent. We cracked the windows just to make sure. There was just a deafening silence. No bugs, no frogs, no owls, nothing. We sat there an additional 30 minutes, listening for anything, but we just heard silence. Neither of us wanted to do it, but all of our warm gear was in the tent, and the temperatures were dropping close to freezing. We would not fare well in just our normal clothes, so slowly we opened the doors and started to sneak towards our tent. The moment we did, we hear footsteps on my side of the forest coming towards us. Both of us fly back into the truck, clicking the lock button like maniacs. I couldn't take it anymore. I nearly lost my cool, but I knew I had to keep sane for my brother's sake. It was stalking us. Is it even a moose? Moose don't do this. At this point, it's almost midnight, and none of us could understand what was going on. We kept on throwing statements around, trying to make sense of what we were experiencing, and how our nice escape from the city had turned into a horror movie. With the unnatural look of the moose keeping us trapped in the truck for 2 hours, we started talking about it being a skinwalker. I guess some people might think that would freak us out, but starting to turn this into a supernatural event and joking in our dark sense of humour, that was just what we needed to help calm our nerves. We were still shaken to our core, and the fear was stronger with the bite of the cold settling in. No way in hell were we leaving that truck again until it was morning and we could see. My brother managed to fall asleep around 12:30, but the forest was still dead silent and it put dread in me. It wasn't until nearly 2 that all of a sudden crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl, all of the normal forest sounds, came back. I stayed up until the temperature reached its bottom. I turned on the heater for a few minutes to stop the unbearable chill so I could sleep, waking up and repeating that every 45 minutes to keep us warm until morning. Then I opened my eyes to the break of day and shook him awake. We packed in 15 minutes and left. Nothing has ever striked such primal fear in me. I've had firearms pointed at me, other dangerous encounters with animals. None of these compared to the terror of this incident. I fear going into the woods, and I don't think I'll be going camping ever again.